know that it's the Security Council that has to make the ultimate decision in terms of going forward with a UN-sponsored mission to protect.
Yes.
How do you believe that the Security Council sees it as the way Mills sees it, or would it lean toward one or the other? Would it accept both of these as sufficient cause for possible intervention?
No, the Security Council doesn't do philosophy.
Okay,
they do distilled either legal principles or political principles, rules of thumb.
So tell me how it would look through the eyes of the Security Council.
If an emergency of some sort arose and it was a potential R2P situation, they would first go, does this emergency fit within the 4 elements that they have been
signed on to?
That they've been, let's call it loosely authorized by the General Assembly to consider as circumstances under which the use of force might be taken on board. And those are, of course, you know, the war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and ethnic cleansing. So the first thing they would ask themselves is, does it fit one of those 4? If it does not, they would then be in a position, to the extent that they're operating within the normative obligations to protect international law and international peace and justice, to say that the case doesn't hold. To give you an example, there was the Hurricane Kargis that affected Myanmar, Burma, a number of years ago. And the question then arose, it was raised by the French foreign minister, as to whether or not this was an R2P situation.
I remember that very well, yes.
Because there were likely to be very large casualties, extensive destruction. The government looked as if it wasn't adequately responding from what we were seeing from the outside. And the question then arose, shouldn't the international community now step in? And there was a debate, specifically in R2P terms there. And the key thing that was missing in the view of many of the observers who felt that it was not an R2P situation was that the government was not engaged in intentional harm to its own citizens. It faced a lack of capacity. And if one looks carefully into the criteria, you know, ethnic cleansing, war crimes, crimes against humanity.
It did not meet any of those particular criteria.
No, even the one that's closest, crimes against humanity, requires a degree of intentional harming rather than unintentional inability to deal with the situation. And so there was an unwillingness to bring together an R2P movement to deal with the Kargis emergency. In the end, local states in Southeast Asia, plus with international help, eventually were able to, with the consent of the government in Burma, to introduce some degree of assistance.